There's a misconception that we don't exist, that somehow our ability to excel at the highest level of our industry is limited, that overcoming barriers as a woman of color would be insurmountable. But what would happen if we decided to venture out on our own despite everything we're up against? I'll tell you. Welcome to the Black Girls Consult 2 podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Angelina Davis, a healthcare consultant, consulting coach, high performance fanatic, wife, and proud girl mom. I help transform female professionals into thriving solo consultants. And just like you, I'm wearing all the hats and doing all the things. So this podcast is to empower the busy female professional to move past fear to start and grow a successful consulting business, despite the obstacles you may encounter. We'll dive deep into consulting practice, business strategy, mindset, and more. So grab your cup of coffee or tea if that's your thing, and let's get started. Hello. Welcome to the Black Girls Consult 2 podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Angelina Davis. And today we are journeying deeper into our series called The Growth Shift. I've really been enjoying this journey because it is me talking through a lot of what I've been working through, especially over this past year, and what I would like to take into 2023. But then also, I'm sharing this in hopes that it'll also spark a renewed fire and kind of like a light there in you as well as we move into this new year, because I always say that the goal of this podcast, the goal of my platform, the goal of Excella Consulting is to increase the success and longevity of women in consulting. So in order for us to do that, we have to really go to a new level in this new year. We can't remain stuck and stagnant. And there's some truths that we really have to, if we're honest with ourselves, acknowledge, embrace, and then use to propel us forward. So I'm hoping that this is a series during this month that'll help you do just that. It's definitely been, like I said, such a blessing and a powerful thing for me. In this episode, I wanted to talk a little bit about one thing that I have been really working through in this year, and it has been a journey, to say the least. But it has also, I feel like, created within me and my business a level of sustainability and really a foundation where I finally feel confident in my ability to grow and sustain this business over the long term. The systems that we set up will always continue to evolve. The way that we have things work in our business will continue to evolve based upon the need at the time and based upon what the market may be doing at any point in time or in that moment. But the thing is that we do want to get to this point where we feel like we are almost like showing up to work, right? So we can just really pour the best of ourselves out without having to be overwhelmed by anxiety and, fear and worry as to where our business is going to come from and how we're going to make things work, and feeling as if we don't know whether or not we can keep things afloat because it's taking so much of our time and energy. We don't want to live in that place. And so really creating this foundation, I know for me, has made all the difference in the world to kind of see how things work together and play off one another and fuel one another. It is just have been such a huge weight lifted off my plate. And I want to share with you a lot of that journey and what I had to go through in terms of the choices and the mental shifts and changes I had to make to get to that point. A lot of times it's not necessarily about the details of how do you set up this system or how do you create this particular workflow or come up with a process that's going to be most efficient and effective. Those things are extremely important. However, it starts with our mind. It starts with us really taking hold of our thoughts and controlling the way that we view our business overall. Because, when we get into the consulting space and we're thinking about how we're going to grow, how we're going to attract clients, how we're going to land, new contracts, there are a number of different ways that we can do that. And when we're listening to so many different voices out in our industry, in the social media space, at conventions and larger meetings, when we're listening to all of these voices saying something completely different, we get lost. We get completely lost in the noise. And who wouldn't? Because it all sounds great. Everything sounds great. And to be honest with you, like I always say, that pretty much everything works in some capacity for somebody. And the key becomes trying to figure out what is going to work for you, what you need in this moment. And so that brings us on this episode, or to this episode rather, which is all focused on realignment. So there's a famous quote that says, two things remain irretrievable. That's time and a first impression. So look, when you are presenting your services to a client and you're ready to win that big lucrative contract, you want to put your best foot forward. And what better way to do that than brand collateral that showcases your high quality services in a way that stands out from the crowd. So if you're looking for a way to showcase your services, I want to offer you what I use and what I know has worked for me over time. And that's my offer magazine template. This is literally a Canva template that all you have to do is drop in your pictures, your logos, all of your information, and then allow someone to see firsthand the level of quality that you present when you touch any project that you are working with. To download, click the link in the description and make it yours today. I promise it will be putting your best foot forward. So realignment, if you actually think about the definition and in terms of the word and what it means, it focuses on restoring something to its former position or state. So in this instance, restoring our mindset to where we were when we first started. And what I mean by this is because if you were to think back to when you decided to go into business, when you decided to start your consulting business and you were picking out your name and filing for your LLC if you had that, or thinking about how you're going to build your website, wondering how you're going to find your first client, you were filled with excitement. And it was excitement about the possibility. It was excitement about the clients that you had the ability to serve. It was excitement about your purpose and your mission. It was excitement about you finally being able to share your knowledge and expertise and do things on your own terms in a way that is going to help and to serve others. There was just a lot of excitement there. And then if we think about where that excitement went, oftentimes it's because we started our businesses, we began to get some initial business here or there, or maybe even if you're starting, you haven't landed your first client yet. We still have that excitement until we get to a point where things get a little tough. Either the clients never come, or maybe they're coming too slowly, or maybe they've come overwhelmingly, but now you're struggling with trying to maintain the quality of the services that you provide. Maybe you're trying to figure out how you're able to serve the clients that you have and still market your business so you can get off of this roller coaster ride in feast and famine mode. Whatever it may be, we get to a challenge, we get to a point where that excitement begins to fade. And when that excitement fades or begins to fade, we look for solutions. We're problem solvers by nature, right? As consultants, we're problem solvers. So we're looking for solutions, and we're going to meetings and conferences. We're networking. We're on social media trying to figure out what to do next. And there's so many voices out there. Everybody is telling you to do a different thing. And so that means that often you're trying a lot. If you're like me, you've tried a lot. You've gotten a lot of online courses. You've probably been, working with a couple of coaches here and there. You probably joined some group programs and just really went on a mission to try and figure out what you needed to do next. And something that slowly happens without us really noticing it is that we begin to shift our focus and we begin to shift our mission and goal and targets. We go from focusing on the service that we want to provide, the mission that we have, our purpose, and things of that nature, those things that we were focused on and excited about when we started, we go to now focusing on how we can grow followers on a particular platform, or how we can get on the next big stage to communicate our message, or how we're going to network and get in the right circles. And when we do this, it's not that achieving these goals, it's not that that's wrong. But what happens is that we begin to shift our focus to that goal, right? And if we're shifting our focus to that goal, then we lose sight of the work that is really going to allow us to accomplish our larger mission. And what you'll find is that you move further and further away from that mission and that goal to these new targets that we've established for ourselves, that we told ourselves will take us to the end result. But what we're not realizing is that although they may still take us there, oftentimes they are going to be a more indirect path that's going to prolong the journey instead of making it short and sweet. And so we're drawn to the fact that publicity, acknowledgement is in really getting our names out there, that's going to generate demand for your work. But one thing that is true about consulting in general, especially working in any expert service-based business, the thing that's going to drive demand for your work is the knowledge that you hold. It's your thought leadership. It's your ideas, your innovation, your methods, your frameworks, the way that you problem solve. And when you are not focused on creating and developing that, really focus on bringing that aspect to light, then you create a certain level of awareness and maybe even in some instances fame for yourself, but it's not necessarily tied to your work because your body of work is incomplete. This is something that I know personally I had to realize. It was never my intent to shift in these other directions, but I noticed that as I would try to master, whether it was a platform or some other goal or target, then I was moving further and further away from my mission. And so what we have to first do is ensure that, most importantly, above all, that we are remaining focused on our purpose and our mission. You may hear me say at the beginning of the podcast episodes, or maybe even in other communication, if you're on an email list, or if you are or have ever read any of my articles on my website, or even, any other on social media or anywhere else, I often say that my goal is to increase the number of women in consulting, to help women achieve success and longevity in this industry. I say that over and over again, not just to let my audience know, but I'm doing that to also remind myself of my goals, remind myself of the real mission, remind myself of what I'm here to accomplish. And that keeps me focused on that path. Focus on making sure that the things that I'm doing, the content that I'm putting out, for instance, on this podcast, is going to help you grow. If I remain focused on my goal, my ultimate mission, then everything else is going to fall in place. And by doing that, what I've been able to see, let's say, for instance, for the podcast, is that my listenership has increased on this podcast as a result of me getting refocused on my mission and my purpose. And that will also happen in your business. Whatever your mission is that you're trying to accomplish, do not allow these other things, these other factors to slowly pull you away from that mission or goal. Let's, for instance, use social media, for example, whether you're on LinkedIn or Instagram or any of the other platforms. The one thing about trying to master a platform is that the platform is designed for you to post content and they use your content, your information, the desire of others to learn from you in order to fuel their machine, right? And so based upon that content, it is going to be placed into an algorithm that helps them engage more people on that social media platform, and therefore keep people there longer, which makes them money in the end. But always remember that mastering an algorithm is not mastering your mission. It is helping someone else grow their purpose and mission. It's helping someone else achieve their goals. And so we have to utilize these tools, these helpful tools, in a way that allows us to still remain focused on our target and mission and purpose for our business. And that is key. So as we are trying to grow on, a social media platform, or as we're trying to network and get into the right circles, we don't want that to overshadow the work that we are doing in our business for our specific purpose. And so once again, that requires us to refocus and create this realignment between the work that we're doing to grow and the work that is going to allow our mission to be achieved. So that's one of the first things, is that we want to gain this realignment by really focusing on, or refocusing, I should rather say, on our purpose and mission. Now, one of the next things is that when we're talking about growth tends to come from your ability to master your craft. Especially in consulting, this is a space where you are going to be hired for your innovative ideas. You're being hired for the way that you interpret data. You're being hired for your unique perspective. You're being hired for your talent and your expertise, your problem-solving skills. All of those things are related to your ability to master your craft. The more you know, the deeper you're able to go, the more insight you're able to provide. Those are the things that are going to make you more valuable in this market. And so when we get distracted by all of these other things that may be going on, or if we allow ourselves to become so overwhelmed with work where we cannot dedicate the time to remain up to date, up to speed, and knowledgeable about changes within our industry, become more knowledgeable about what is on the cutting edge of our industry, then it's going to be very difficult for us to attract the types of clients that are more than likely aligned with your higher level service. And this often, what this looks like, at least I've experienced it in my practice, what this has looked like is becoming so busy that you don't have the time to read and to study. That you don't have the time to really just tune into a conversation for the sake of tuning in and learning something new that piques your interest, instead of it being solely focused on accomplishing the next task, right? We listen to, whether it's podcast or YouTube videos, or even reading books and articles. We may do that because we're trying to accomplish a goal. We want to know, how do we land clients faster? How do we reach our financial targets? How do we accomplish a particular goal that's associated with oftentimes a financial outcome? And when we do that, it's not that those things are bad, but we're not dedicating the same level of energy and effort into mastering that one thing that is going to allow you to stand out from all of the rest of the other consultants and other experts in your industry. And that is you being able to master your craft, you becoming the best at what you do, because that is what's going to sell your services faster than anything else. That's what's going to create that level of demand. The better you become, the more people are going to become aware of your talent, because it's going to be rare, right? And that's the thing we have to remember. It's kind of like we have to stay focused on the long game, focus on the greater picture. And it doesn't mean that this has to take a number of years. It doesn't take long if we're actually honest with ourselves to really start to attract clients that are going to be aligned with our higher level goals. If we just allow ourselves to do those things that we know deep in our heart are needed for our industry. There is a reason why you decided to start your business, especially if you started with a purpose and a mission. There's something about your industry. There's something about your space that makes you upset. There's something about that space that you want to change. There's something about that space that doesn't feel good. And that's what you have to speak about. That's what you have to begin to elevate and address, because that's going to be that beacon light that's going to draw other people to you. That creates that level of awareness and demand at a higher quality than a lot of these other tactics and strategies that we're trying to trace. And what I've noticed in practice is that every time I lean deeper into those things that fuel my mission to start in my business, then that has been met with a higher quality of interaction, right? Better clients, better leads, better opportunities. You don't have to pitch podcasts. They come and ask you to be on those podcasts. You don't have to pitch for so many speaking engagements. They come and seek you for that speaking engagement. You don't have to pitch to land that contract because they come looking for you to be able to sign that contract. And it's because you are different. But without mastering our craft, we can't get there. Because what happens is that we end up sounding and looking like everyone else. And it's funny because these things always come full circle. These are things that we often know, but the problem is, and the difficulty that I've experienced and that I also see with the clients that I have been blessed to work with, is that it's easy when you're starting to think that this will be something to maintain. But when you're going through the journey, that's when it gets hard. And you can tell that it's getting hard because that's when you'll begin to see more and more people falling to the wayside. They stop posting, they stop showing up. You'll begin to look around and you'll start looking for people who used to be, for instance, on social media, or who used to be in those inner circles, and they fade away, they disappear. And it's because keeping yourself aligned and focused on mastering your craft is difficult, because that's something that you don't see immediately turn into dollars and cents. It doesn't turn into that big launch, that big financial windfall immediately. But it is going to be what is going to generate that revenue in the end. Think about anybody you follow, whether it's online or any thought leader that you subscribe to their newsletters or read, multiple books from, people that you've interacted with and you highly respect. All of those people more than likely are masters of their craft. They are. I'm willing to bet money that they are. And that's where you're going, because you more than likely, this is the crazy part, more than likely you have all of that right now without having to do anything else whatsoever. It's just a matter of you leaning fully into that space and understanding how to use the knowledge that you have to your advantage so that you are able to place it into the market in a way that is going to draw the people that you need and that you are aligned to work with. So that's one of the second things, is mastering your craft. So this last one is going to be probably a little bit more controversial because a lot of people believe that you should not follow your passion, that it can be dangerous to use that as a mantra or, kind of like your guide, because there are a lot of people who have passions in different areas where they may not necessarily have their expertise or hold their expertise. And so it becomes problematic if they're trying to build a business, especially based on a passion that they're not talented or skilled at doing. So it's something that I feel like is a statement that has become rather cliche. And I think also, though, that we sometimes don't look at this in kind of like the right light. Oftentimes we're looking at this as kind of like a black or white statement that is cut and dry. But for me, when I like to talk about leaning fully into your passion, it's because I strongly believe that in order for you to be successful as an entrepreneur, especially, and definitely to be successful in this consulting space because of the nature of what it entails in terms of you, like I just mentioned before, mastering your craft and really dedicating all of this time and energy to this specific topic, which is usually in a specialty area, very targeted, very specific. You have to have a desire to do that. I don't believe that you should be building a business that you hate. I don't believe that you should be building a business where you feel trapped. I believe that you can find something that you love that makes it easy for you to do the work. And one way that I like to tell people to think about whether or not they're doing this, if you're a little unsure, is to think about whether or not you need to take a break from what you're doing. And, we're getting around the holiday time, and oftentimes most people will say, I don't feel like doing this any longer. I want to enjoy my family. Or I'm taking a break because I need to be away from the business. If you have created something that does not feel aligned to where you can continue to run your business, you can continue to be in that space, you can continue to learn and to grow without taking a break from it, then I'm going to suggest that you may need to look at what you're building. Because when you're building something that you're truly passionate about, the work is easy. It's not that it's easy to do, but it's easy for you to dedicate that energy because you enjoy it. It doesn't feel like work. When I'm on this podcast and I'm talking to you right now, yes, it's something that has to be done. Yes, it can be time consuming. It can be a challenge to carry it out, but it doesn't feel like a burden. It doesn't feel like something that I have to do. It feels like something I get the opportunity to do, words that I get the opportunity to share, information that I get the opportunity to spread, right? That's the difference. And what I want us to do in this next year, especially, is to begin leaning more fully into those things that we are most passionate about. There are ways for you to incorporate the things that you love into your business. You determine this. No one else determines this for you any longer. There are certain things that we had to compromise on because we were in our 9-to-5 or we are in our career. Though in those settings, we are meeting someone else's expectations. And so there's a reason that we have to be able to adapt and to compromise. And maybe some of those things we may not necessarily enjoy doing. But in your business, you, for the most part, in terms of the global picture, I'm not talking about every little task. You may not enjoy every little task. I get it. I don't enjoy every little task. But I'm talking about the global picture, your business as a whole. You should love doing. You should be building something that you love. This is you building your future on your terms. So it can be something that you enjoy. And the great part about the way that you're able to structure your business is that you can create a system, a workflow, processes that allow you to maintain your business, still achieve the goals that you have laid out without it feeling so taxing. You don't have to physically be there every moment. You don't have to feel burdened by trying to do all the things all the time. There is a way for you to create a simple business that is highly successful and that brings you joy. And that's actually really when I'm thinking about it, that's the whole premise of my program, Position to Excel. It's designed so that you can create a simple business that allows you to master your craft, to focus on your mission, and to do something that you're truly passionate about, to grow and thrive in your industry, and to build the financial stability that you need so that you can live life on your terms. I didn't mean for this to turn into a commercial right there, but I was just saying it all, and I was like, "Oh wow, this is exactly what I do in that program." But it's so important. It's important for you to find those things that you enjoy most and lean more fully into that in this new year. Find ways to incorporate those things that feel in alignment with you. If there's a platform that you're on right now that you don't enjoy, get off of it, or at least reduce the energy that you're expending in that platform. Maybe approach it a different way. If you love to write and feel like someone is not going to necessarily listen to your message because it's in written form, find a way to make them listen. There are people mastering blogs and email marketing right now. If you're one that wants to speak on grand stages, there's a way for you to be able to find opportunities to, number one, create your own platform and stage to speak from, but then also get on others in a way that doesn't shift you from your overall mission. These are the things that will bring you joy, that will light you up. And it's important. This is why it's important. Because when you get to those difficult moments, when you get to those times, and we all do, where things may slow down or things seem a little bit uncertain, or there's a challenge in front of you that seems overwhelming, that you don't know whether or not it can navigate through. It's going to be this passion that fuels you. It's going to be that love for what you do that is going to allow you to take the next action in the next step to get over the hump and achieve your greater goals. You're going to need that emotional energy, that vibration, however you want to speak to it. You're going to need that in your business in order to get to a much higher level. And so that's why, like I said before, we have to have this realignment that draws together our mission and purpose, our mastery of craft, and our passion, so that we're focused on those things that matter the most, and we're just kind of going full steam ahead. So I really hope that you have enjoyed this episode. These are the things that, like I said, I've been working through, that I'm growing from, that I want to share with you in hopes that we can all kind of continue this momentum into the new year, because 2023 is going to be the best year yet. I promise. I know this, because if we have all these things in place, it's like inevitable. It really is. It really is. So if you enjoyed this episode, make sure that you share it with a friend. Don't forget to leave your review on Apple Podcasts or rate it on Spotify. Definitely subscribe. I'm giving you all the call to actions all at once, because I do want you to tune in for the next episode of The Growth Shift. This podcast series will run through the end of the month, and then we will be into a new year and ready to take off running. All right, guys, I hope that this has blessed you as much as it has blessed me. And I look forward to talking to you very soon. Take care. Thank you for tuning in to the Black Girls Consult 2 podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to leave your review on Apple Podcasts, subscribe, and share it with a friend. We're on a mission to increase the success and longevity of women in consulting, and you can help us do that. Also, I'd love to hear from you, so let's connect at Dr. Angelina Davis on Instagram or LinkedIn. And don't forget to visit excelatconsulting.com for more information to support your consulting journey. Until next time, take care.